What's up, guys? We have another great start sit video for you today. These are some quarterbacks I'm starting in week 12. First off, I'm starting Tua Tagovailoa versus the Patriots. Tua is a stud, and this is a better matchup than it looks like on paper. The Patriots have one of the longest injury reports in the league, and one of their best defenders, Christian Gonzalez, was a late add to that injury report. I like Tua and the Dolphins to roll. This week, I'm also starting Bo Nix. Nix gets a dream matchup versus the Raiders, who are going to be without two starting defensive backs in this game. Nix has been on fire as of late, and I expect him to stay hot. This week, I'm also starting Jordan Love. The 49ers are reeling from injuries. In this one, they'll be without their top defensive player in Nick Bosa, and that should give Love more time to throw the ball. I like Love to spread it around and put up some big numbers. My long shot start for the week is Tommy DeVito. The Bucks are giving up the most fantasy points to opposing quarterbacks this season, and DeVito has put up some magic in the past. I don't expect all of the Giants' problems to go away with the departure of Daniel Jones, but maybe DeVito can provide that spark. This week I'm sitting Kyler Murray. Kyler has not been great on the road this season. His best road game this season was a QB 12 overall finish versus Miami. This week he gets to face off against the Seahawks, who did a good job shutting down Brock Purdy last week. I'm also sitting Sam Darnold. He's coming off a big game, but Chicago has been a great home team this season. I think they can play good defense in this one. The Bears defense has been one of the best versus opposing quarterbacks this season. And finally, I'm sitting Drake May. May has been crushing it lately, but the Dolphins defense has really stepped up as of late. I expect the Dolphins to get the momentum going in their favor in this game, and may struggle a little bit.
Here are your starts and sits at the running back position for week 12. Your starts. First, Christian McCaffrey, San Francisco 49ers. I know Purdy is out, but look for them to fully unleash McCaffrey as they try to stay in playoff contention. Next, we have Brian Robinson, Washington Commanders. All he does is every week that he has been healthy and finished a game, he has beat his points projection every single week this season. He is fantastic. Next, we have Ramondre Stevenson of the New England Patriots. As long as he's not fumbling, he is the focal point of that offense as they try to take pressure off of Drake. Your long shot of the week is Bucky Irvin, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. He's by far the best running back in that backfield. They're coming off a bye week. He should be healthy and get you a few vulture touchdowns and help you. Your sits, Derrick Henry, unfortunately, Baltimore Ravens. It's going to be a second week in a row that I expect him to underperform. I know he is player number 5 overall, and you probably won't sit him. Just expect him to underperform by his lofty standards. Next, Jonathan Taylor of the Colts. All right, I said last week that he was going to underperform, and he did, and I expect the same thing. Detroit's going to make this game a shootout, and they're going to force Richardson to try to pass to keep up, which is going to neutralize Taylor. Finally, we have Tony Pollard of the Titans. This will be the third week in a row he'll underperform, and I expect that because he's going against the Texans, and the Texans have a top 10 run defense. So that's your starts and sits at the running back position.
Your week 12 start sits at the wide receiver position. We're starting Cortland Sutton of the Denver Broncos taking on the Las Vegas Raiders. We are riding the hot hand with Cortland Sutton. We said start him last week. It worked out. Listen, guys got 4 straight games with 8+ targets and 6 catches. We're also starting Xavier Worthy of the Kansas City Chiefs at the Carolina Panthers. He ended his TD slump last week. He had 4 receptions, 61 yards, and the touchdown. Like we said, slump was ended. And it's the Carolina Panthers, so why not? Malik Neighbors of the New York Giants, we are giving him the start versus the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I know Daniel Jones is no longer going to be the quarterback, but Neighbors, I mean, he is the guy. Where else is a quarterback going to go to in that offense other than the main man, Malik Neighbors? Listen, the volume's still there. After the first 4 games being so hot, he hasn't cracked the top 20 since. But last 4 games, 42 targets. We're giving him a run out. A long shot of the week, which seems kind of weird picking a former first-round pick as a long shot, but Jalen Waddle of the Dolphins taking on the New England Patriots. Week 1, he topped wide receiver 20, but he hasn't even done better than wide receiver 39 since then. New England's defense is not good. Tua's back. That's my long shot of the week, ladies and gentlemen. We are sitting Jordan Addison of the Vikings at the Chicago Bears. He's had 8 targets and 61 yards last week, but don't believe the hype. I know Jefferson's going to be taking a lot of heat from that good Bears secondary. However, it's the Bears secondary, and while their offense may have been struggling, their defense has been pretty good. So we're fading Jordan Addison. Also, sitting Jacoby Myers of the Las Vegas Raiders at the Denver Broncos. He's had 7 straight games of 4 catches, but the yardage has been an issue, and it's the Denver defense. I see you're seeing a theme here. Bears secondary good. Denver defense very good. We are also fading Rams wide receivers at the Philadelphia Eagles. Philadelphia Eagles secondary is about as good as it gets this year in the NFL. I'm fading Nacua. I'm fading Kupp. I'm fading Robinson. I don't want anything to do with Rams wide receivers this week.
Here are some tight ends to start and sit for Week 12. Starting off, I'm rolling with Cade Otton against the Giants. The Giants are missing starting linebacker Michael McFadden in this game, which will affect their ability to stop the tight end position. Mike Evans is returning for this one, and that will scare some Otton owners, but I think it's unfounded. He's still the number 2 option in an offense that slings the ball all around the field. Next up, I'm starting Dallas Goedert against the Rams. The Rams are giving up the 7th most points to opposing tight ends, and Goddard has reached double-digit PPR fantasy points in both games since his return from injury. Even more encouraging, last week Goddard was on the field for 89% of his team's offensive snaps, and that was up from 63% in the week of his return. He's a safe start this week. And for the second week in a row, I'm suggesting that you play Hunter Henry. He is the main beneficiary of Drake May's emergence at quarterback, and he is seeing heavy volume in the Patriots' passing attack. He draws a matchup against the Dolphins this week, who give up the 13th most points to opposing tight ends. And finally, my long shot start of the week is Noah Fant. He's missed the last 3 weeks to injury, but he should be back for this matchup this week versus the Cardinals. And before the injury, he was averaging about 5 targets per game. So if you need a bye-week fill-in or an injury replacement, Fant may be your guy. Moving on to who to sit this week, I like sitting Tucker Kraft against the 49ers. Kraft was held without a catch last week and has to match up against Fred Warner in this one. While I do like Kraft and could see him bouncing back, I just think this matchup may be too much to overcome. And I also like sitting Mark Andrews against the Chargers. The Chargers are one of the top defenses in the NFL, and they play very well against the tight end position. Andrews is only averaging 4 targets per game over his last 3 outings, so I don't expect him to put up huge numbers. And finally, I'm sitting Cole Kmet against Minnesota. Kmet is trending in the wrong direction and faces a tough Minnesota defense that is giving up the 7th least amount of points to opposing tight ends. Here are some defenses to start and sit in Week 12. First up, I'm playing the Broncos against the Las Vegas Raiders. The Raiders will be without their 2 top running backs in this game. And couple that with the fact that they're already one of the league's worst offenses, and that means it could be a huge day for the Denver D. I also like playing the Texans defense this week. They get a matchup against the Titans, who are the NFL's worst fantasy offense. And anytime you have a chance to start a defense against a Will Levis-led team, you have to smell blood as a fantasy owner. I think this could be a huge game for the Texans. Next, I'm starting the Commanders defense against the Cowboys. The Cowboys have had 0 offense to speak of with Cooper Rush as their quarterback, and I don't anticipate that changing this week. Finally, my long shot stream of the week is the Tampa Bay Bucs defense against the New York Giants. The Bucs were only 14% owned last week, and they draw a dream matchup against Tommy DeVito. Moving on to our sits for this week, I am sitting the Bears defense against the Vikings. The Vikings have an average offense, but the Bears will likely lose the time of possession battle, and I can see their defense wearing out as this game goes along. I'm also sitting Miami against the Patriots. The Patriots have improved in the past few weeks on offense due to the emergence of Drake May, and I like the Patriots to put up a decent showing versus the Dolphins this week. And finally, I'm sitting the 49ers against the Packers. The Packers have one of the premier offenses in the NFL, and the 49ers will be without Brock Purdy in this one. I expect the 49ers defense to be on the field a lot because of this, and that could mean that they wear out and give up some points in the second half.